Find out what is happening at the library, from virtual programming to fun new services. Learn tips, tricks, and discover what is trending in the world of books and reading. Hear recommendations on books, movies, TV shows, and so much more. This is In the Stacks at Mustang Library.
Hello, and welcome to today's upcycled craft. We're going to be making a mini wreath made with book page pieces. This simple and fun craft is great for the holidays, but it works any time of year. There are a few supplies you'll need for this project, including a wide mouth canning ring, a book you're willing to cut pages out of. Those pages need to be cut into 2 by 2 inch squares. You'll need approximately 50 to 60 pieces. You'll need a glue gun and glue, pin, ribbon, and any other decoration you'd like. Let's get started. Grab your stack of book squares and a pen. You'll need one square and press the tip of the pen into the center of the square and just twist so that you make this flower-like shape. Grab another and keep going. You'll want to twist the center so that it's held in place, so the flower keeps its shape. You can also use your hands with the same motion. Just use your finger to depress the center and then scrunch it together and twist. If these fall apart, it's okay. When you're gluing it, you'll just curl them back together and then glue them back on. Now we'll take a wide mouth canning ring, and what we're going to do is first glue around the bottom inner portion and then up along the sides inside the ring, along the bottom of the outside, and then along the top, so that we're not going to see any of the ring when we're finished. So grab a rosette, and for the center, just put a bead of glue on the twisted part and stick to the inside of the canning ring. Continue moving along like this. This is something you'll want to be a little bit careful with, since hot glue can hurt. Just take your time. It's not worth getting burned over. So if you place the rosettes closer together, you're going to get a fuller effect, a more ruched effect. If you space them out a bit, you'll see more of the flower loose effect. So whatever you prefer, just go with it. I think mine turned out a little bit of everything, and it all looks interesting, it all looks natural. So this is a very easy project. So just keep going along the sides and work your way up and around. This project is easy to just fill in as you go. If you find holes, just find a rosette and stick it in the hole. You'll want to cover up any canning ring you see. Once you have it as you like it, it's sufficiently filled out. You can't see the ring anymore and it's fluffed. Fine. You're ready to go. Unless you'd like to hang this in a window, then you can continue as you were along the back side so that you get a uniform wreath that looks the same on both sides. So now we'll just add a ribbon to hang it up. You can also add berries or tiny pine cones. Decoration is up to you. It's also perfectly pretty left plain. Here we're just adding a bow to make it festive. And adding a bit of glue to the back of the bow. You can also affix the ribbon to the wreath if you'd like for stability. And there you have it, the mini wreaths. And they look great as a group, and they're a really fun, addictive project. Looking for more craft ideas? Look in our catalog for paper crafts or upcycling, or browse the stacks in the 745.5 area. These are a few I found, but there's a lot more out there, so get crafting.
Okay, so welcome to In the Stacks, everyone. Today we are so pleased to welcome resident expert of movies of all times, Miss Luisa, over here from Arabian Library. Welcome back to Mustang.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be back here. Hooray! And talk about movies. This is my dream. Thank you.
Yes, and you're getting paid for it, too.
I get to be paid for it. Thank you, taxpayers. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this year. And to give it some context, let's look at 2019, because you go to a lot of movies. That is like your passion.
I love the movies. I love the movies. That is my favorite happy place.
How many do you think you saw back in 2019?
Oh, pre-COVID days, I was going to maybe 1 or 2 a week over the weekend. So about 90 movies, I would say, back in 2019. Hooray. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
and how many so far in 2020?
Oh, gosh. Well, pre-COVID-19, I was on a good pace. I had done maybe about 15 movies in the theaters. Then, of course, the stay-at-home order came in. And, of course, understandably, it's not an essential service, although I really love it. So I stopped going to the movies for a while. Since then, I've seen about maybe 11, since it reopened, closed, and reopened again. But hooray, the theaters are back open. We're thrilled.
Okay, so obviously your movie attendance was severely crippled this year due to the ongoing pandemic.
Oh my goodness.
But nevertheless, you saw quite a few films.
I did. It's been just great, yeah. And yay for our DVDs here at the library. So, oh my gosh, I really recommend that as an option if you can't get it to the theaters. They're great. Yes, yeah.
So let's jump right in and tell us what's getting a lot of buzz right now.
Yes, thank you for asking. It's a little bit odd because I haven't seen quite a number of these, so I'll kind of go over them briefly. But I did some good research, and there's some that are kind of rising to the top as potential Oscar nominees. There's Nomadland, that's starring Frances McDormand. The Trial of the Chicago 7. I believe that may be out in the Alamo Draft House cinemas now. Not sure if it's local yet though. One Night in Miami sounds just great. It's what would happen if Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke all got together for a wonderful conversation, all fictionalized, after Ali beat Liston back in 1964. Then another one, big buzz for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I guess it's from Broadway, and starring some really powerhouse actors, including Chadwick Boseman, Viola Davis is in there, and it's I guess based on a true thing about this woman who was an African-American musician back in 1927 trying to wrestle control of her music from her white manager. So sounds great. Yeah. Let's see, Defy Blood. So Spike Lee is back, so you know that's going to get some buzz. And this one's about some Vietnam veterans that have returned to Vietnam. They're trying to recover the remains of one of their fallen comrades and also find the treasure that they left in Vietnam. Oh, sounds fascinating. Let's see. Palm Springs is kind of a fun one after all that kind of dark movies and lots of drama. It's a romantic comedy. Two strangers are at a wedding in Palm Springs and they get stuck in a time loop. I'm there. Gotcha. First Cow. I really wanted to see that one, and then of course the thing's all shut. But it's a skilled cook, and he's in Oregon. He meets a Chinese immigrant, and they actually form a thriving business selling baked goods to the settlers. Sounds great. And they have a cow, so that's the first cow, yeah. And then Mulan. Oh my goodness, no slam to streaming services, but I really want to see this one on the big screen. It is I guess a continuation of the Mulan story, of course, with live action characters this time, live action movie, and it looks just great. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff getting buzz right now. Obviously the Oscars are going to be coming down the pike.
Yes.
What actors do you think have, given some Oscar-worthy performances
Sure.
that you could recommend seeing.
Indeed. And some of them I have seen. The other ones, though, there's a really good one about Chadwick Boseman, who was that wonderful actor who died way too soon. He's in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I think also maybe in another movie that's being released this year. Such a great actor, and I'm kind of hoping that they'll be able to honor his memory and his wonderful skill with an Oscar nomination. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins is in the mix. He has one called The Father. He's maybe in the early stages of dementia and, you know, confused about his life. Delroy Lindo is part of the Defy Bloods. Stanley Tucci, one of my favorites, is in something called Supernova, yeah, which looks great. He's co-starring with Colin Firth. All right, so go for that one, absolutely. And it wouldn't be an Oscar season without Tom Hanks.
Love Tom Hanks!
Tom Hanks. And he's doing News of the World. It's kind of interesting. He's in the Western frontier. He actually is trying to restore a girl to her biological family after she was taken by the Kiowa Indians and raised as their own. So that sounds really interesting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's give fair credence. What about the women? Any good
women.
performances there?
Indeed, there's some wonderful Oscar-worthy performances. One that was getting a lot of buzz was Frances McDormand, wonderful. Loved her ever since Fargo, and she's in Nomadland. That's the one I mentioned for the movie. Viola Davis is playing Ma Rainey in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, so she's another powerhouse actor. Carrie Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. That sounds like a really good one, yeah. Vanessa Kirby, it's in Pieces of a Woman, and kind of another interesting story there. Jennifer Hudson, oh my gosh, I've got to go see this one. She's the movie's called Respect, and she's playing Aretha Franklin. So what a perfect tie-in with a young woman who is a great actress and a great performer, great musician, great singer. Emily Blunch, yeah, she's in something called Wild Mountain Thyme, spelled Thyme. Sounds like kind of star-crossed lovers in an Irish land battle amongst their families. Oh my goodness, wow. And then of course Meryl Streep, she's just like Tom Hanks. You can set the clock by, it's time for a Meryl Streep nomination. I mean, yay, she's a great actress. This one's going to be great. It's called The Prom, and it is a musical. Wow, a musical. So think La La Land, but this time there are these actresses or actors on Broadway who have had a little bit of decline in their career. They find out that there's a young couple, lesbians, that are being denied access to going to the high school prom because, of course, they're two women. So they're going out there to, you know, save the day and maybe get some, you know, publicity and restore their career. And then of course there's Anya Taylor-Joy. I'll talk about her with Emma and Elizabeth Moss, who is amazing in The Invisible Man.
Okay, so move over, Siskel and Ebert.
Yay!
We have Miss Luisa in the house. Luisa, what do you recommend people see for 2020?
Oh, can I start with the ones in the theaters?
Go right ahead.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad theaters are back open. Thank you. Thank you. So some of the ones that I've really enjoyed, the first one is Tennant, and that's by that amazing director Christopher Nolan, who does these very cerebral but very action-packed movies. This is starring John David Washington. That's one of the guys I was thinking could get an Oscar nod. And of course, Robert Pattinson. You remember him as Edward in the Twilight movies. Really good actor too. Yeah, and think that this is kind of like sci-fi meets James Bond, and there's all these interesting things about physics, time travel. Could people from the future come back and change their past, our present? Fascinating. It's really, really good. I recommend that one, especially on the big screen. The way it's filmed is jaw-dropping. Yeah. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Hey, Bill and Ted, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are back. It's 25 years later. They are 25 years older, and they still have not made that music, that song that will unite the planets, bring world peace. Chocolate for everybody. And so their daughters are trying to see if they can't get the dads to finally create that music before the planet just probably spins on itself into oblivion. It's wonderful. And a lot of the characters are back, including the guy that played Death. You know who I'm talking about. The princesses are back, of course, now as the wives. And there's even a special appearance by the late, great George Carlin. I won't say more, but you also have your historical musical figures that are helping him with trying to create the song. Great fun. If you want to laugh, Go see it. Go see it. It's wonderful. And then there's Cajillionaire. You know Evan Rachel Wood from the amazing Westworld series on HBO. She is nearly unrecognizable in this movie. She is the daughter of a couple of grifters being played by Richard Jenkins, and a blast from the past, it is Deborah Winger. Deborah Winger. It's great. It's kind of hard to describe, but think these three people that are always on the make, on the take, trying to see if they can steal something or maybe talk somebody into something where they're going to come out on top. It's fantastic. There's a lot of twists in it, and the most interesting thing where they're living in this office space that's next to a foam making factory, and they have to get in there every day at 5 to clear the foam out of their home. It's wonderful. And then there's On the Rocks, Bill Murray. Oh my gosh, my hero. He is outstanding. He plays this kind of bon vivant playboy father of a certain age named Felix. He works the room wherever he comes in. He sings songs. He greets everybody. He learns their backstories. Anyhow, his daughter Laura is very, very close to him, and she's worried that her husband is getting bored with the marriage. Felix jumps in thinking, oh no, that means he is having an affair. so hilarity ensues when he decides, well, I'm going to get my private detectives to follow your husband around and see what's happening. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And then the personal history of David Copperfield, Dev Patel, who was very famous in that Slumdog Millionaire, think back a ways. He's great. He actually plays David Copperfield, and he's also kind of playing Charles Dickens, if you will, in this movie. It's the most interesting take on a Dickens novel that I have ever seen. They deliberately went multi-ethnic with the cast. It works. It's fantastic. Yeah, so try that one. I think maybe Dev Patel has a good chance at being an Oscar nominee. It's really, really good. There's a lot of humor in there, of course, with the sadness, but it's just a really great one. They film it as if you're on stage, maybe with Dev Patel talking about as David Copperfield, his life. That's amazing. And then, oh my gosh, you want a scary one. Possessor. This is the uncut version. It is directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of David Cronenberg. Think the Dead Zone, Scanners, you got it. But this is a wonderful movie about a woman who has the skill to be able to use technology to get into the brain of their target, and the target is then directed by the person moving the person to assassinate someone and then of course kill themselves. It's great, and gosh, Jennifer Jason Leigh is in it too, so that's a really good one. There's blood and gore everywhere, so if you have a weak stomach, maybe not, but I thought it was really, really interesting. It's very stylish as well as scary. Save Yourselves. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I got to talk about this one. I love dark comedy, and this is one of the best. It's a young couple in Brooklyn who are being poked fun at, very gently, about being too obsessed with their technology that they forget to actually interact with each other. So they're sitting next to each other on the couch, and the thumbs are going, they're looking at their cell phones, they're working on their computers, and they forget to interact. So a friend says, You've got to save your relationship. They go up to this beautiful cabin in upstate New York, and they're having a wonderful time. Although their hands keep creeping toward that cell phone, and they go like, "Oh no, I can't touch it!" And while they're up there having a wonderful time, aliens attack. It is so great. The aliens are hilarious. If you're old like me, you remember the original Star Trek and the Tribbles. Well, think Tribbles enlarged and looking like a poofy, furry ottoman. Great. It's just great. So those are some of the ones in the theaters that I would highly recommend.
Okay, so those are the ones you do not want to miss on the big screen.
Yes.
What about DVD? Anything that you can recommend?
DVDs, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, I'll start with Onward. That's the Pixar one that's on DVD and available at your library. Yes, just great, just great. It's wonderful, perfect Pixar, where you have a mix of humor, adventure, a little bit of sadness. There's a real heart to it about these two boys that are trying to figure some way to get their long deceased father back with them for a day. It's just wonderful. The Invisible Man, that's Elizabeth Moss, who I really deserves an Oscar nomination. It's fantastic. She is getting out of a loveless and actually violent marriage. Her husband has, I guess, been declared dead, but she thinks that he is actually stalking her, and she can't see him. wow. It is amazing. It is so good. And the director is kind of like Hitchcock with the way he cuts between the actor, the thing that's happening and back to the reaction. You'll be on the edge of your seat with this one. That Elizabeth Moss, she is amazing. Oscar nomination for her if I could vote. Gotcha. All right, Emma. Oh my gosh, I cannot miss Emma. That's Anya Taylor-Joy. This is one of the very best versions of a Jane Austen novel that I have seen in many a day. It's great. It is great. You have Bill Nighy in there as Mr. Woodhouse, so I'm sold right there. And when you watch it on our DVD, please be sure to take a look at the commentary at some point, because that is almost as entertaining as the movie. They go into a lot of detail on how they had to find all these locations that were Regency period effective, how the people dressed, how the people ate, what were considered good manners, what were considered bad manners. And then, of course, Anya Taylor-Joy, she is wonderful. Another Oscar nomination for her. Emma is considered one of the most unlikable characters Jane Austen ever created, and she does a fantastic job. I was rooting for her. Okay. And then there's The Lodge. Okay, this is a creepy one. Oh my gosh, it's stylish and also horrific. Alicia Silverstone is in it. You remember her from Clueless. She's the mother who commits suicide early into the movie and sets off this whole spin of events where the ex-husband, now widower, is announcing that he's going to marry this girl who has a very terrible past with a religious cult and a mass suicide in her background. The children, a teenage boy and a little bit younger girl, are horrified, and for some reason the father thinks it's a great idea to spend Christmas at the lodge in this frozen lake with snow everywhere and nobody around. I'm going, this cannot end well. It is really good. It is really good. But again, blood, gore, oh my gosh, yeah, but very stylish. Okay, and if I have time to do two more, Fisherman's Friends. If you are a fan of Waking Ned Divine, okay, this is going way back, you've got to see this one. It is an absolute gem. It's based on a true story of a group of Cornish fishermen living in Cornwall in England, which is beautiful, romantic, and very craggy. And as a prank, they're signed on to a record deal for their sea shanty prowess by this guy who's being pranked by his boss to see if he can't get him a contract to make an album. It's a boy band where I think the combined age is like 965 years old. It's wonderful. You'll love it. It's humor, it's heart, it's a little bit of sadness, there's some growth in the characters, and the cool part is it's based on a real story. It's a true story of these fishermen that made a top 10 album out of sea shanties. Amazing. Okay, Extraordinary is my last one. I just saw it. I loved it, loved it, loved it on DVD. Yes, from the library. And this one was so fun. It's a horror comedy. Think Shaun of the Dead, but even more so. It's Irish, so sometimes it's a little hard to understand some of the dialogue. Stay with it. There's a young woman named Rose who's the driving instructor who has had a sad past, but she has the ability to talk to the dead and get them to move on, run to the light, And then there's this man named Martin, that is his name, who's being bullied by his deceased wife. Gotcha. The woman is long dead. Her name is Bonnie, but she's still picking out his clothing and what he can eat. I loved it. I loved it. It's so great. And it's all, none of the ghosts really appear. And then you have Will Forte. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's from SNL, Saturday Night Live. And he's this guy named, I think it's Christian Winter in the show. He had a one-hit wonder years ago, and his career has declined precipitously ever since. So he decides he's going to find a virgin to sacrifice so he can get a new music deal and have another big winner. It is hilarious, and it's just so fun the way they film it. The ending is absolutely priceless. I would love to tell you what it is, but I'm going to leave that as a teaser to see. The very end of this one is called Extraordinary. Fantastic.
Okay, sounds great, Luisa.
Yes.
So, any parting words for the audience for 2020?
Any parting words? Absolutely. Well, do not be afraid to go to the theaters. They are being so careful in this crazy day of mask wearing and socially distancing the seats. But do not forget that the library has a wonderful selection of videos and DVDs and Blu-rays. So as you are maybe not feeling so comfortable with the theaters, come to the library. You know that we're going to get all these on DVD if we don't have them already. So visit your public library, and thank you.
And that's a wrap on this week's edition of In the Stacks. Tune in next Tuesday at 1 p.m. for Get Lit at Civic Center Library. We'll be back again in 2 weeks to talk about books and more at Mustang Library. Curious what to do in the meantime? Check out our virtual programming going on this week. Learn how to fold a votive candle holder out of a book, or learn the basics of using an iPad. Check us out online. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.